The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker, a necessity for gracious living. When it comes to the Legend of Zelda franchise, few titles subverted the audience's expectations as much as this one. After the release of Majora's Mask on the Nintendo 64, gamers expected its follow-up on the GameCube to consist of a more dark, edgy goodness, but instead, players would be presented with a more whimsical affair. While gamers were skeptical about this new art style at first, the cartoony direction of the game would result in this one graphically aging like a fine wine, with some Zelda fans out there going as far as to claim that this entry from the series is their all-time favourite. This fantastic game is one of the shining crown jewels in the GameCube's library, but what if I was to tell you that Toon Link has also been given an adventure on the more humble Super Nintendo? That's right, I am Lady Decade, and this is the story of The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker for the SNES. But first, a word from our sponsor. Are you tired of sweltering in the heat and humidity, desperately seeking a breath of fresh air? Look no further than the JISULIFE Handheld Fan Pro 1S. It's here to rescue you from those scorching summer days and stuffy environments. Say goodbye to gaming and discomfort and hello to cool relief, anytime and anywhere. With its new peak of powerful wind force, the wind speed reaches 9 meters per second, accelerating the cooling rate threefold. Whether you're commuting, waiting in line, or enjoying outdoor activities, the Pro 1S fits perfectly into your lifestyle. Equipped with Category 100 hurricane technology, personalized wind power adjustable at will, so you can find the ideal setting that suits your needs and beat the heat your way. Pair this with the product's superior 15 hours of battery life and aluminium alloy aesthetics, you can get an effortless, long-lasting tactile sensation for the whole day. Beat the heat in style today by clicking the link in the description. You'll get a 20% off coupon for this fantastic product, instantly making you feel like a Hollywood star. Ah, that's refreshing. When it comes to a Wind Waker inspired video game being created for the Super Nintendo, one would probably imagine something that looks like The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. The Game Boy Advance title played from a top-down perspective, featuring everyone's favourite green tunic-wearing warrior. After all, one would think The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past would be the perfect title to hack and reshape in the Wind Waker's image. But nope, modders would take a much different approach to bring such a project to life. This brings us to The Legend of Zelda The Mini Quest, a fan game that is not a hack of anything Zelda related but Super Mario World. A Wind Waker Mario World game may sound very strange on paper, still the end result was a lot more fun and impressive than I was expecting, with assets and mechanics being so drastically changed that the title has drifted pretty far from its Mario source, which makes sense considering much of Wind Waker revolves around drifting around the high seas. So, as one would expect, there are a few similarities between the original Super Mario World for the SNES and Wind Waker for the GameCube for one to expect that this would be a particularly practical mashup. But what has been put together works surprisingly well. This effort by Maxwell Hacks was created for The Legend of Zelda's 35th anniversary, with the title on Super Mario World Central being described as a Wind Waker inspired Mario World hack featuring references from other Zelda games from the franchise. The author promises 4-layered backgrounds, Mode 7 graphics, and true high-res boss-defeated screens. So let's delve in and look at this game. Powering the game on, players are greeted with a title screen displaying the affable Toon Link, the Great Ocean, and a Wind Waker-inspired title. After choosing to play either 1 or 2 player mode, gamers are presented with an awesome introduction sequence, reminiscent of the one that can be witnessed when starting on an adventure in the GameCube classic. It reads, "Everything was in peace in the land of Hyrule. The last hero thought that he defeated Ganondorf, but it was just an illusion. Zelda got kidnapped by the evil hands of Ganondorf. To be sure that no one will ever touch his castle, Ganondorf sealed Zelda and shattered the Triforce into several pieces. There is no hope besides the awaken of a new hero." Bringing us to the beginning of our adventure. Link wakes up in his bed on Outset Island with a voice crying out, "Link, please help me. I'm trapped in the castle of Gerudo Desert. Ganon sealed me. I can't escape from here. Help me, Link." Leaving Link's home brings him straight to the game's overworld map, and clicking on the first available stage throws him straight into the action. Now, if you've played Windwaker on the GameCube, the music and the art used throughout the stage will make you unmistakably know you are running around Outset Island, with the presentation basically being spot on. One thing I will say though is that it feels extraordinary to control a Link sprite who controls exactly like Super Mario. The accurate Zelda scenery certainly meant that it took my brain a few seconds to tune into the fact that I needed to play this game as if I was playing Super Mario World, even though I knew this was a Mario World hack going into this. The presentation is just that bloody good. It can throw your senses off slightly. Mario World's classic enemies have been changed to recognisable ones from the Zelda franchise, and the end of the stages are marked with snatching up pieces of the Triforce. In fact, it even plays one of the series' most famous jingles every time you complete a stage 2. Amazing. Traversing around the world in the Wind Waker involves navigating the Great Sea and moving between many of the islands in the game. This mini-quest celebrates this feature by incorporating it into this title's level design. The second stage sees Link ride the iconic King of Red Lions across the Great Watery Expanse, a stage that not only features incredible graphics that take advantage of the Super Nintendo's chipset, but a 16-bit version of Wind Waker's Great Sea theme too. There are obstacles and enemies to jump over and projectiles to avoid, with the stage all in all doing an excellent job immersing players into this Wind Waker inspired world. Dragoon Roost Island also features a 16-bit version of the now iconic Dragoon Roost Island theme. The level also introduces another game mechanic that sews Mario World and Wind Waker features together. This functions as the first stage in the game whereby Link must regularly pluck bomb flowers and then use them to blow up concrete blocks that stand in progression's path. Utilising this item in such a way certainly makes the game feel a little more, well, Zelda-y. Now, this is where things get even more interesting, as each island has stages marked as dungeons. Typically, these rely on a little more puzzle solving to be partaken in, and are inspired by dungeons from the Wind Waker and, at times, other Zelda classics. The first dungeon stage, for example, forces you to double down on bomb flowers, with even the game's sub-boss requiring bomb flowers to defeat it. Once you have made this knight fall into the lava, it is on to the next part of this dungeon, where the fire staffs must be utilised to destroy wooden blocks, and the ice staff must be used to shoot enemies to cause them to explode, eliminating concrete blocks. Both can be found in flying question mark blocks, which have been restylized to look like the chests from A Link to the Past. These sorts of mechanical changes to the game are really immersive in separating this game from Mario World to deliver something Zelda-like. Fortunately though, Mario World does include a feature that is pretty Zelda-y to begin with anyway. Keys, which are located in this hack to open up locked paths. The bosses included in this one are nothing like what can be found in Mario World though. Check out the size of this first one, for example, who must be cautiously jumped on 8 times in the right spot to defeat. Speaking of which, when beaten, the Link to the Past boss defeat victory theme plays, which is another lovely touch. Moving on to the Forest Haven stage, we have some great use of classic music from the Minish Cap, one of Toon Link's other famous adventures. Just like the music itself, this stage looks beautiful, but the trickiness of the platforming has been slightly increased compared to what came before. The Great Deku Tree stage features music from the Lost Woods from Ocarina of Time, but the latter portion of the stage contains another Wind Waker inspired mechanic. Picking up a Super Mario World fever allows Link to glide using the hero's cloth, taking advantage of air current updrafts to cross an abyss. This is a great detail considering this occurs in the Wind Waker 2. The Water Temple is next up and features yet another new mechanic. To complete this stage, Link must collect 5 key coins around the level to open a door blocking his way. Since this is a water temple, many of these must be searched for amongst the stage's deep watery depths, which again is a very different level design from what can be found in Mario World itself. At the end of the stage, a mini boss fight takes place against a not so mini Choo Choo. The second water temple stage is fun and features some nice background graphics, but after you have hit a switch and released a rush of water, upon swimming to the top, Link must face his toughest challenge yet. During this boss fight, I would repeatedly die, as this opponent could kill you in many ways, avoiding its lasers in the watery depths, as well as avoiding spikes while trying to grab floating items and accurately throw them at the boss can be challenging, to say the least. In fact, the whole game does get actually really tough from here, with the difficulty level ramped up quite a bit. Crossing the sea again is much more difficult than the last time around, with all sorts of tall enemies that Link must jump over, blocking the way, and tons of projectiles to avoid, which continuously rain down on Link. Far different from anything that appeared in Super Mario World, there is also a stage where Link rides Epona through the Gerudo Desert, with Epona controlling completely differently from Yoshi. The Desert Temple is the toughest stage in the game yet, and another one where players must locate 5 strategically positioned key coins. This one even requires an element of backtracking needing to come into play, as there are areas you can only access if you hit a switch to make previously hidden blocks appear. However, the sub-boss at the end of the level is less tricky, as all you need to do is hide for cover to avoid the lasers, then throw the exploding tears at the giant eye whenever the opportunity arises. The next Desert Temple stage also provides a fair amount of challenge, as Link is mostly shrouded in darkness and undefeatable zombies are hiding in the shadows, ready to pounce on Link. Not only that, but the fireballs these orbs can shoot can also prove problematic, and retrieving the key to open the door provides some of the hardest platforming in the game yet. The boss fight at the end of this one can also be annoying, with a lot going on screen. Between trying to throw enemies at the boss's head and avoiding everything else the fight is throwing at you, this is perhaps the most difficult moment the game will present you with. Moving past this point, all that is left to contend with is Ganondorf's Castle, an auto-scrolling stage with a creepy ambience and great use of music from Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. If you can survive until the very end, you must finally face off with Ganondorf himself, which, like in Ocarina of Time, can be defeated by using the golden arrows, which Zelda throws down from above. He has a few different attack patterns to learn, requiring it taking a few times to beat him, but once he is defeated, Zelda is saved, the curtain comes down, and the adventure is over. What I will say, for what is essentially a Super Mario World ROM hack, the extent of work put into this project makes The Legend of Zelda the Mini Quest feel like a very distinctive experience that differs greatly from anything else available on the Super Nintendo. If you fancy celebrating your Wind Waker nostalgia uniquely, I strongly advise you to try this one out. Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, why not check out my upload on A Link to the Past for the NES. Subscribe and see you soon.